Alright guys, well welcome back. We're going to go ahead and talk about exocytosis and endocytosis. I think that's where we left off. I'm sorry, I took a little bit of a break and then came back. So what I want you guys to notice is endocytosis is cell eating. So anytime an amoeba, kind of like this, wants to eat some food, it has to get it inside of its cell, and that requires energy because it's active. Exocytosis, and I'm going to shoot up this animation here. So when your body makes proteins like this, it has to get them out of the cell. So remember, exo means exit, and this requires energy as well. So you're exiting these proteins out of the cell. Okay. Now, what we're going to talk about right now is hypotonic and hypertonic. So hypotonic solutions, what I want you guys to think about is a hippo. Hippos are low and slow, so we're going to talk about low concentrations. And that's the solution that are in. So a concentration could be sugar, salt, any type of electrolyte. So you have a low concentration of sugar, that means you don't have a lot of sugar, right? So let's just say this cell was inside of a solution that had 10% salt, but inside of the cell you had a higher concentration of salt. So you have a higher concentration of salt here, and you have a lower concentration of salt here, which means you have here a higher concentration of water. In here you have a lower concentration of water. Okay, so when you talk about hypo, it's going to have a low concentration of a solute, which means it's going to be a high concentration of water, right? So if you have a low concentration of sugar, that means that you're going to have a higher concentration of water inside of that cup, right? So water always moves from high to low, right? Because water is high over here, it's going to move inside of the cell. Okay, and then this is what's going to happen. So what happens is the water moves from the outside to the inside, and it actually grows and expands. Now, if you're in a hyperconcentration or hypertonic, that means you have a high solute, low water. Oops, about to die. So that means that you have a high concentration of sugar or whatever out here. So here you have a 20% salt solution, so that's high concentration of salt, right? And then here, it's a low concentration of salt. So if you have a low concentration of salt, that means you're going to have a really high concentration of water here and a low concentration of water here. So remember, water always moves from high to low, right? So water is going to move from high to low, so your cell is actually going to shrink and lose water that way. Now, if you have an isotonic solution, iso means the same, so you have the same percent of concentration inside of the cell than you do outside of the cell. So water moves equally in both directions, right? You don't really gain water or lose water at a different rate. So it's nice and healthy, right? Okay? So remember, if you're in a hypertonic solution, you're in a very highly concentrated area that has low water. Right? If you're in a hypotonic solution, you have a low concentration that has high water, right? And we're only talking about water when we talk about this, right? Because water can move in and out very easily. So if you're in a hypertonic solution, if this was the cell, and this was out here, it was very sugary, right? Very sweet. You have a low concentration of water out here and a high concentration of sugar. So water always moves from high to low. So your water will be removed out of the cell and shrink here. Okay. All right. So that concludes our video series. What I want you guys to do is kind of go back